Welcome everyone, as I crave your indulgence today on patience. Patience is something that I need to practice this year, and I'm asking us as we kick off this year, this new year, we exercise that substance. So dwelling in the zone of grace is our new theme, and last week we embarked upon a journey which we will continue to travel as it takes us on into the field of grace. And you all, everyone here, and those who will view by YouTube later on, have a special invitation, a first-class ticket to come along with us as we travel along the highways and the byways, the hills and the valleys, covering the length and breadth of the heart, and enter deep into the center of what it is that constitutes grace. So, as I said, dwelling in the zone of grace is our theme for this year 2024. So I just thought it would be fitting for us to explore and give ourselves a chance to just dive deep into it. Since in many respects, grace is uncharted territory, and we want to meander along as we take our fill from the cup of that inner light. So in the last session, we looked at the idea that grace carries different interpretations depending on where in the world you originate, your culture, your background, and your spiritual path. We looked at the Christianity idea of grace. We looked at the Islam's ideas of grace, and we looked at the Hindu ideas of grace. We also looked at what the Buddhists think about grace. And we also saw where various schools of thought had their say about grace. This week, we will take a look at the graces, as Carolyn May so eloquently puts it. And she's concerned about the wonders of grace and when and how and why it flows into our lives. So we're asking the question anew this week: what is grace? And the answer perhaps lies in the very essence of the word itself. Grace is derived from the Latin word gratia, and it means favor, kindness, or goodwill. It is something freely given. But Carolyn Mace, on the other hand, describes grace as a mystical force, not an intellectual or physical power. Usually, she says, it's after days, probably weeks have passed, that you realize something slightly odd occurred, something out of the ordinary. And it can be as subtle as the way in which you spontaneously step out of your comfort zone to assist a stranger. And so she pieced together the words guidance and grace, considering that guidance and grace support your well-being at all times. She saw it as two sides of the same coin, infusions of the higher power, the holy light that assists us in making transition to a higher, more light-filled state of consciousness. And so from the higher inner position, we are capable of an empowered decision. Carolyn continues, says grace empowers our capacity to make choices that we prefer to avoid in an ordinary situation, in those ordinary moments. However, grace especially pours into us when we require assistance to better the lives of other people. So Carolyn asks us to consider the courage of grace, and this is the first grace aids that I will look at today. One of the first grace of, as Carolyn Mace puts it. So the first one is the grace of courage. And most of our everyday decisions do not require exceptional courage. However, let us consider this story. The young lady who took the video of George Floyd while he was on the ground with his neck under the officer's knee was in the space of the grace of courage. If the spirit of courage did not descend upon her that day, maybe she would not open her phone, let alone posting it, let alone approaching law enforcement to give her testimony, let alone going into a court to swear that this is what she saw. This is her witness to that event. I rather doubt that she was thinking of herself as courageous that day either. And this is how grace descends upon us, many times without our conscious invitation. Of course, this meant that she has to live the rest of her life with security personnel around her. But for the grace of God, but for the grace of courage, there she goes. Grace works effectively through the choices that takes the most courage, but perhaps makes the least sense. These choices are the most demanding on our soul. And grace does not require a crisis or dire situation in order to flow into our lives. As we look at the next graces, for example, the grace of inspiration, it is described as an elusive yet potent force that has captivated humanity for thousands of years. It is a spark that ignites creativity and pours into our souls in moments when our desire is at an optimum. Inspiration may seem a little passive, however. It is the very essence of what makes us human. For it is through inspiration that we transcend everyday monotonous existence and reach for the higher calling. But what is this grace of inspiration, you ask? It invokes a sense of wonder. When we ask, where does it come from? And how can we harness this power? Inspiration can arrive as a sudden bolt of lightning, electrifying the mind with a new idea, or it can creep in gently, a slow and steady simmering that gradually brings a vision to life. It can be sparked by a conversation, by a book, or an overheard conversation. It can be sparked by a piece of music, or even an odd image in a magazine, or the sudden ignition of the seed for a story, probably a painting, a project that yearns to be born, or an unexpected encounter with a stranger, otherwise seen as a dance with chance. When seemingly desperate threads weave together, revealing a pattern, a truth, a deeper understanding that resonates in our very bones. But do you consider that you have been graced with inspiration when you have been wrestling with a problem for days and suddenly, in a quiet moment, like clarity in a fog, the solution appears clear and complete like a gift wrapped in moonlight? We hail the joy of creation when we hear a newborn baby cry, the feeling of being lost in the flow when on the court playing a game, or when our fingers dancing across that piano keyboard, or when a paintbrush is gliding on canvas, or when words of poetry are tumbling from our lips. Each step is fueled by an inner fire, otherwise known as the inner light. So no matter how it is packaged, inspiration does feel like a gift bestowed on us. a touch of the divine that stirs the soul and sets it alight. It is a call to create, to express, and to leave a mark in the world. So while inspiration may seem like it strikes us out of the blue, there are ways to cultivate the fertile ground for its seeds to take root. Curiosity is an essential ingredient. When we have an open mind, a willingness to explore, or be open to new experiences, when we ask questions, or when we when we engage in diversified perspectives, these are just some of the magnets that attract inspiration's whispers to us. Another key factor to have the grace of inspiration descend upon us is to immerse ourselves in the world around us, in nature, in art, in literature, or in music. These all hold the potential to spark that creative fire. The more we engage with our senses, the more we expose ourselves to different experiences and perspectives, the richer the wellspring of inspiration becomes. Creating a space for inspiration to flourish is vital. This can be an actual physical space, a dedicated corner in your home, like a feng shui idea, or somewhere in the park, look for a safe bench in the park and sit there. Or it can be a mental space or a time set aside each day for introspection and contemplation. In this space, we are free from distraction. We allow our thoughts to wander, and we allow ourselves to be receptive, to listen to the quiet whispers of our own creativity. And so the path of inspiration it's not always smooth. In the moments when doubt, negativity, and fear creeps in, we must remember the power of perseverance. Don't be afraid to fail. Embrace the process of the struggle and the failure. Learn from the mistakes and keep on going. Inspiration may flicker, but it never truly dies. We must fan the flames, nurture the embers, and exercise our trust, knowing that the spark will regenerate. The rewards of inspiration are indeed worth the struggle. It is through inspiration that we find our true selves, our unique voices, and our purpose in this world. It is through inspiration that we touch lives, that we leave a legacy that transcends time. All we ought to do is to open ourselves to inspiration's embrace. Another of the graces that we will look at, according to Carolyn May's description, is the grace of discernment. And it is seen as the expansion of ordinary thinking, where it provides us with the capacity to maneuver more carefully through a decision. So the thing about the grace of discernment is that it is a beautiful and multifaceted phase that can hold rich meaning depending on the context. Discernment is actually a divine gift, allowing us to distinguish truth from falsehood, right from wrong, and God's will from our own low vibrating desires. This grace helps in navigating the complexities of life and making choices aligned with our spiritual beliefs. Discernment, it's also viewed as a skill that can be developed through prayer, through reflection, and through study of religious texts. Practices like meditation, contemplation, and seeking guidance from spiritual leaders can deepen our capacity for making wise decisions. The grace of discernment helps us to align our actions with our core values. It encourages an awareness of the potential consequences of choices and the ability to choose paths that promote love, compassion, and services to others. This is where the saboteur archetype energy comes in. And of course, it does play a vital role, being the guardian of choice. And we can look in more detail at the saboteur at some other time. So with the greater grace of discernment under our belts, we can use it to cultivate intuition. It uses a keen sense of judgment, sharpened through life experiences and careful consideration. It allows us to access situations, weigh evidence, and make informed choices based on reason and understanding. This grace empowers us to think critically and to question ourselves on the assumptions that we make. And with the instrument of this discernment, we can avoid being swayed by external pressures. It encourages a distinct understanding of the world and the ability to make ethical choices based on personal values and on a broader awareness of what could be crucial impact. So ultimately, the grace of discernment is about seeking truth, choosing wisely, and acting with integrity. It is a powerful tool that can be used to cultivate inner clarity, self-awareness, and it lends us the mental strength to identify our own biases, understand our motivations, and navigate through life challenges, through complex situations with a sense of calmness and confidence while striving towards a fulfilling and meaningful existence. The next graces that we will look at is the grace of understanding. And how many of us have challenges with that? Understanding. On this planet Earth, where we all reside at this moment, it is becoming increasingly fractured by misunderstanding and animosity, where walls of opinion and identity rise even higher, whether it be political, religious, or racial. And the grace of understanding emerges as a bridge of hope stretching across these divided shores. The grace of understanding begins with a profound recognition of our perspective being inherently limited. We are shaped by our unique cultures, our beliefs, and our biases. And this limited perspective can easily lead to misinterpretations and quarrels and promotes the idea of this us versus them story. So in order to get on the bridge of hope, we must first shed that cloak of our own certainty of what we think we know and step in their shoes and put on the coat of active listening, which is a cornerstone of truly understanding. Employing patience. As I said earlier, patience is a virtue. And suspending our own agendas and simply just lean in and absorb and appreciate other people's experiences. Just be genuinely curious and take a peek with them and see the other person's differing view of how they see the world. It is only through an open mind that we can begin to grasp the complexities that shape their reality. Try embracing the possibility that another person's perspective, although so different, so diverse, that it can really hold a grain of truth. These viewpoints may challenge our own, yes, but life is demanding us to be vulnerable, to be tolerant, crossing over from the intellectual comprehension to the emotional connection. And so by allowing ourselves to be touched by another person's story, we may be surprised to find that there is a lot more that binds us and that we have more in common than we previously thought. The grace of understanding demands an unwavering commitment to open dialogue, even when we are uncomfortable, especially when we are uncomfortable. Our own prejudices, our own preconceived ideas will be revealed, and we will get a chance to learn something new. Understanding fosters connections and encourages tolerance and challenges us to drop our assumptions. Profound transformation lies at the base of the grace of understanding, paving a way for a more compassionate world, creating a society where diversity and inclusion becomes the order of the day, creating a world where we celebrate our differences, leading us into a world of unity. We do share a common humanity, and it is not the walls of separation that define us. However, it is a bridge of understanding that we build. And imagine if every single person in the world looked the exact same, with the same color, same hair texture, and the same height and size. No, we don't think that the creator wanted that at all. The creator deliberately created diversity. So it's for us to embrace that. Mention was also made of other graces, such as the grace of tranquility and the grace of endurance. However, we'll wrap up by looking at the grace of healing. Carolyn Mace is big on healing. And if you read her book, Entering the Castle, featuring St. Teresa of Avila, you would have a great understanding of what she means when she said, grace is a conduit through which people heal. According to the dictionary, healing implies a process of restoration, a making whole of something that has been broken. But the very phrase, grace of healing, evokes a sense of a gentle mending, a soothing balm for the wounds of the emotions. It is a concept that transcends the physical, reaching into the deepest resources of our being, offering us comfort and the promise of wholeness. It could easily be nicknamed the balm for our brokenness. So healing grace could be described as supernatural power. We could call it a supernatural power, supernatural force, a force either external or internal that works to mend our brokenness, to restore us to a state of wholeness and well-being. This force can manifest in various forms. It can be the gentle touch of a loved one, quiet comfort of nature, the wisdom gleaned from experience, or even the simple act of self-compassion. The need for healing grace is universal. We all, at some point in our lives, experience pain, loss, and disappointment. These experiences can leave us feeling broken, fragmented and lost. It is in these moments of darkness that healing grace offers its most potent balm. In the world of Christianity, the concept of healing grace sits at the very center of the teachings of the master teacher, Jesus. The hallmark of his whole ministry was chronicled by acts of healing. The whole book was dedicated to that, like from the Acts of the Apostles that they practiced after he left, both physical and spiritual. He touched the lepers, he healed the blind, he raised the dead, and even more importantly, he offered forgiveness and hope to those who were broken and lost. His message of love and compassion continues to be a source of comfort and strength for millions around the world today. Healing grace is also a call to action. When Jesus touched them, and they were restored. His common take-home assignment was, "Go thy way and sin no more," meaning you have a job to do now that you are healed. Please do not continue doing that thing that you did which caused you grief and pain. This is offering us the power to partake in our own healing and in practicing self-care. Story was told about this man who was completely healed of cancer after he took on a therapeutic course in forgiveness, forgiving his wife for all the ills he thought that she committed against him during their 27-year marriage. Essentially, the journey of healing is a personal one. There can be, it's really not a one-size-fits-all approach. And the whole path of wholeness, it could be, long and winding. But in each step we take, with each act of acceptance and self-love, we move closer to the inner light. For the healing grace is not a destination, but a process, a dance between darkness and light, between brokenness and wholeness. Think not just of a broken bone that was mended, or a cough that was silenced, or the disease that went into remission. Look deeper, for the grace of healing resonates in the hand that holds yours through the darkest hours. The grace of healing is in the tears they shed with you. It is in the laughter that chases away the boogeyman. The grace of healing lives inside the decision of the doctor. It lives inside the compassion that the nurses show. It lives inside a stranger's unexpected kindness. And so, saying that to say, healing is not merely a physical return to wholeness. It is a landscape paved with resilience, acceptance, and love. It blooms in the quiet courage of facing pain, in the gentle touch that soothes doubt, in the whispered words that affirm your worth. Consider the artist who has no physical sight and paints a world of vibrant colors. Listen to the musician with trembling fingers as he creates symphonies of hope. Just take in the ballet dancer whose health challenges and physical limitation, you find the freedom in movement. These are not miracles of mere bodily restoration. They are testament to the unyielding spirit, the indomitable will that plays the game with their scars. So here's the thing. The grace of healing is not always a swift crescendo or a magic potion. In many instances, it can be slow, sometimes barely on the octave above a comfortable hearing level. Healing grace asks us to trust in the unfolding rhythm and to accept that which we would not previously accept. Seeing beauty where the naked eye cannot even vision the balance and the symmetry of creation. You see, healing is not just about endings. Like, okay, now I no longer have diabetes, or, oh, your diabetes, your healing is over. It is done. No, it is about beginnings. It is certainly about discovering strength in your vulnerability, grace in imperfection, and the power of connection in a world that often feels isolating. It's about recognizing the symphony of support that surrounds us and the chorus of voices lifted in shared humanity. So, Aglowers and Aglower friends, the call is to let us not only celebrate the miracles of physical healing, but also the quieter grace that mends our spirits, nourishes our souls, and compels us to dance even when our steps falter. Let us open our hearts to the chorus of compassion. Let us recognize the melody of love in every act of kindness. And let us in turn become instruments of healing in the lives of others. For in this united orchestra of resilience, strength, and love, we are discovering that the truest meaning of grace of healing is a song that stays on the lips and resonates with the profound truth that we are never truly alone, that we are, each and every one of us, worthy of wholeness, worthy of healing, and worthy of healing grace. And so in closing, the grace of inspiration, courage, healing, discernment, and understanding are precious gifts, a reminder of the boundless potential that lives within each of us. By cultivating curiosity, immersing ourselves in the world, and creating a space for creativity to flourish, we can tap into this wellspring and use it to create a life that is truly inspiring. So let us go forth in this new year and embrace the muse and paint our own masterpieces on the canvas of life. Graces then are not a singular event, but a journey, a continuous unfolding of the soul. They are seeds buried deep within, waiting for the right moment to unfurl their petals and reach towards the sun. And the energy of grace, they are always present, waiting to be discovered. So let us open our eyes and hearts to its presence and allow it to guide us on the path towards wholeness. Remember, graces are not a privilege reserved for the chosen few. They are gifts within each of us, waiting to be discovered. All we need is the courage to open our hearts, to listen to the whispers of our soul, and to take the first step in this new year on the path to creation. For in the end, it's not just a grand gesture, but the quiet ripples of kindness that leave the most indelible mark on those we encounter in our lives. And these ripples would catch a glimpse of the true meaning of the graces, a divine spark illuminating the path towards the overflow of compassion and forgiveness and love. In the graces, we discover the truest meaning of our existence and the radiant beauty of our being. And so our prayer is for this year that we move through life with hearts open to the embrace of the power of the graces. And so we radiate this light, and in doing so, contribute to a world where grace, like a gentle, persistent melody, whispers a song of unity and love. True essence of grace, we embark on this journey of transformation and be a catalyst for a world illuminated by the soft glow of love and acceptance. And we let that be so, and so it is. And so it is. Now,
wow, Mahrzxijah,
wow.
I'm exhausted. I mentioned this last week, and I'm going to mention again because I said, I'm so glad you're going into this year to discover what grace really means. Because we hear that word, oh, you're so gracious, and all that. We have no idea what we're getting ourselves into this year. We are going to transform ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I will join with you, which was your first request. Please join me in patience. You said that, to get through this year of grace.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that the word called grace has 5 letters in it, Grace. And that word also represents the 5 graces.
Oh, imagine that. I didn't
One of
see
those little
that.
clunky things that
It's
my
an
mind
acronym
wants to
for,
find
yeah,
me.
okay, we can look at that. Yeah, yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that. Uh-huh.
Now I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I equate grace with the power of the Holy Spirit. Is there any difference, or One, I think, is the inspiration, the vibration of God's presence. The other is the techniques you must learn or process through your subconscious, your consciousness. And also, we need this understanding in groups so we can discuss this matter, which is so important to our lives, to our occupations, to our existence, so that we can help one another and support one another in this journey towards grace. So that's all I want to say. I'm just so glad you're going into this zone because I think there's an awful lot in there, and we need week after week of practice for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. And so grace actually is part and parcel with love. All the substances of the spirit are enfolded or engulfed in love. Because love, when you look at each one of them, when you take them apart, love is the ingredient that makes it what it is. All right, the main ingredient stirred in there, mixed in there, is love. And yes, it is one of those graces that the Holy Spirit did bestow on us, left here for us to, of course, to decipher for ourselves and see and to use it. And yes, grace is love. Wisdom is love. Joy is love. They all are. However, they're just little nuances, just little slithers of, I didn't want to use the word difference, because they're all part and parcel of the same energy. It's simply an energy that the spirit is here. It is spirit. And it is bestowed on us to be used. And it's just left to how much we decide to take in and to use for ourselves. And of course, we will be exploring this deeper as we continue along in the year. Looking at this, thank you, Joan, for these challenges that we can, take them apart, and we'll work on getting there. We'll work on getting there. Thank you, Joan. You've given me a lot to chew on and to look at this year. All right, so I guess that's it for our commentary segment.